Welcome, welcome back to yet another video. Today we are going to discuss on one of the upcoming and the trending topic, that is graph SQL. So this particular topic is very hot and it's been recently been upcomingly mostly used, and also if you look at the trend, right, earlier we used to use REST APIs and you have done microservices, right? So here there is an upcoming an ongoing trend going on where most of the organization have already adopted to use GraphQL. We'll look into what exactly is GraphQL, how it works, what are the different types. We'll discuss more on this, what exactly the internal things about it, and what is the difference between GraphQL and REST API. Okay, so basically we'll discuss all these particular things in this video, and let's begin. So basically, what exactly is GraphQL? So if you look at it, it's nothing but a graphical graph query language, right? So it's a query language. It is used for APIs, and basically at the runtime environment, it is used for executing some queries, or the queries which are used using the type system that is defined for some data. Okay, let's say you want to retrieve some data, you define some queries, and then at the runtime you get that data. So that is what exactly the GraphQL is about. Now to the history about it, it was created by the Facebook, and then in 2015, and then ultimately it was open sourced, converted into an open source in 2015. Now when you compare with REST API, right, or when unlike to the REST API, right, the server wherever this particular GraphQL server is up, right, it defines the structure of that particular response. So what exactly the graph enables will does is that the client sends a request, the client is getting the request, exactly the data it needs, right? So it can request it whatever exactly it needs it. Okay, so this is much more powerful and also much more efficient when it comes to REST API. Why? We'll look in the further slides. Okay, so this is an introduction what exactly the GraphQL is about. We'll discuss about the core concept of GraphQL. So basically, schema. So the very core part of GraphQL is about schema, right? You have to define a structure of an API, right, which will include types, queries, mutation, and subscription. We'll discuss. These are the new topics, and if you see, I mean, this is kind of an outline that what the client can interact with the API, so that what data it can fetch, right, and it can manipulate and show, right. That's what exactly it's about, right. Now we discussed about types. What exactly this type is about? It is a critical part of defining the structure of data, how the client can interact with it, right? So every GraphQL API, whatever we are going to define and use it, right? It is based on this particular schema that we define, like the type of data you can query, mutate it, and then subscribe it. But basically, if you check out the different main types of types, right, the GraphQL, it will include object types, scalar types, enum types, input types, list types, etc. And right, so these are the types which are required as a critical part for defining the structure in the data, right. Now we discussed about query. So this is kind of an it's a read operation basically. So you can request some specific data from the server, right. uh, the client, it will specify that these are the fields that it require, and it will specify in the query, right. So only those data it will get that and fetch it. Now this mutation, these are kind of where you can modify certain data, right. It is in contrast to, I mean, it is exactly opposite of like what exactly the query is defined, which is read only, and mutation allows you to create. I mean, what we discussed is query is only read only, but if you go to the mutation, it is about the modification part. So it can, you can create it, you can update it, you can delete the data. So wherever there is a need of some updates, we make use of mutation. And wherever there is only the need of when you wanted to fetch it, then we can use it of query, right? Now subscription is nothing but, you must have heard of like subscribe model, right? Then that is nothing but where you subscribe to get that particular real time data, right, or updates basically. So let's say in example of Kafka, right, some topic is created. So one client, actually the producer, is going to subscribe to that particular topic and he's going to produce it. So ultimately he has to first subscribe that to get that particular or push that particular data, right? So client can subscribe to certain events, and then it can get notified on something where, let's say, some changes are done on the server. Resolvers, these are basically kind of functions that will kind of resolve the values of the fields in the GraphQL query. So when a query is made, right, when you build a query, so resolver, what it does is that it fetches the data from the backend, and then it returns in the same format or in the same shape whatever it is requested for, right? So you can consider it as a mapper or a resolver, where it is going to act as a bridge between these two, right? Uh, Now, how it works internally is that, as we already discussed, there is a schema definition we have to define. Then we have some client queries we have to define, right? And the server actually will end up sending the response, right? So when we say about schema definition, right? So you describe the data, what is there, what kind of operation it can be performed. Now, queries, what you write, right? Client queries, that is sent to the query, the server, and it will mention, like, what exact data it needs. Now server, what it does, that it will go to the external services or legacy system or database, it will fetch that and it will parse it. I mean, the query, whatever it you have sent it, it will parse it, it will get the data from all these particular components, and then from the appropriate, and then it will return the specific format whatever it is requested by the client. Now, in the diagrammatical, if you do see a diagram over here below, right? So the client is sending a request to the GraphQL API or a server, right? Then what it does, that the server itself receives the query, that is, and then it is going to match against the schema what it is defined, right? And then it is going to fetch that, it is going to resolve that particular data that is required from it, either by querying on it or potentially like it in the database or the services, right? Like, there are three systems, if it is shown in the diagram, but yeah. And then ultimately it is going to get that response, and then it is going to send that particular to the client. So this is how it internally works, and these are the internal components what is required that GraphQL servers to work. Now, I mean, in the previous slide we discussed, right, the schema definition, right? So this is something like, we define the types, operation in the schema, right? So here is an example what we define. Like if you see ID, right? ID is there, name is there, age is there, post, like this type, and then we have defined some posts, which is like, ID is title and content. Now after that we have defined the queries and the mutation, right? So we have defined, you remember, like, query is for only for the read only part, we get that particular thing. And then mutation is something where we wanted to update, create, or delete something, right? So that's where we allow to modify, right? So this is the exact schema definition what we should be defining in general one, a graphics code. Now, if you see here, like, we previously discussed about the example, right? Now you see here what with an example of user, right? We are posting something. The client will, send some query, right? So it will as like this. So if you see, like, get user, the ID is equal to 1. Now it is going, if you see ID, name, post, title, it is there. Now it requests this particular thing, like that, get user ID, and ultimately it is going to get a response like this, like where you will have the user, and under that, if you see, you have the ID, name, post, and ultimately the title as well. If you see in the sub JSON or whatever it is, right? So, and then there is a title, right? So there is an array of multiple titles and multiple content of it, right? So this is the response what you will get according to the request what you request in the same format. Now we have already seen like what is mutation, but it is definitely for creating or modifying something, and ultimately this is the format how it will be defined in the query, and then ultimately you'll get a response, right, like this. Now what is the benefit of out of this, right? So there must be some benefit, because a lot of people are using it, and a lot of companies have adopted to this particular way of querying or querying the API, right? So the first thing is declarative, and it is very efficient, right? When you're trying to fetch some data. So GraphQL will what it does is that it will avoid some data which is like over. It is not going to fetch the data which is not required by the client. In that, what you will get, it will not either overfetch something. It is not going to underfetch something. It is going to fetch or the exact what client needs. That's the benefit. So this will be benefit in terms of let's say you are using some uh, cloud services, and like the data, the number of like there might be a services where in terms of moving some data from back and forth there might be a charges applied, right? So in that case it is quite beneficial. A single point endpoint, if you see there is an endpoint, like let's say rest, unlike a rest endpoint, then typically we can use multiple endpoints like user post and graph. But if graph API are typically accessed by a single endpoint only, it doesn't require a different APIs. Hierarchy wise query, so basically you can define this particular queries in a mirror the structure the data, like how you request, right? It is going to, it's quite in format and easier to understand, and you can also manipulate the response easily, right? So that's how it is going to reflect, right? The flexibility, you can actually, the client can request and then receive the data in the shape, without like modifying the existing data or backend, right? Whatever it, right? So instead of calling multiple endpoints, right, it is going, it has a flexibility of getting that in a very proper format whatever it is required, right? Now versioning of API, basically typically you don't require versioning here, since schema can be involved over the time, and then the client can adapt to new fields, and then without breaking the old ones actually whatever we are using. So that's the benefit of it. Strongly typed, this is schema enabled, and it is script, it is strictly defined, right? So it makes it quite easy to catch some issues at the compile time, right? And even if the query has some the issue itself, right, you can actually easily find that. So that is what the benefit when it comes to strongly typed. Now real-time updates, so when we already discussed, there are subscriptions where this we get the real-time communication from that back and forth, from the client and server, right? So that's what the benefit is about. Now when it compare with GraphQL with the REST API, now that it's a popular question, and it's a most frequently searched question as well, because uh, being REST API for a long time, why there was a need to be of GraphQL, right? And what benefit it is here, right? So then if you compare it with the data fetching model, right? So client request only those data that is required, but in REST API you have to fetch multiple endpoints or multiple data, right? Whatever it is defined, right? So you cannot have a live ledger of getting the crisp data. So there are different endpoints when it comes to REST API. There you have to use multiple endpoints to get different kind of data. Now in this particular GraphQL, you can have only one endpoint, and then you can serve your purpose of getting data from multiple REST APIs or server or database, right? Overfetching, so you in GraphQL there is much limitation of overfetching, so that's the benefit. But in REST API you often need for overfetching, you have to unnecessarily get that data which is not required as well, right? Schema, so it is strongly schema type, so that is according to the rules it is going to run, and then it will be able to crisply understand what exactly things went wrong. But REST API there is no schema or something like there is no built-in schema for it. Versioning, so GraphQL doesn't require any versioning, but REST API does require, because as per the REST APIs evolve, right? There is a need of backward compatibility, so versioning is required. I hope this video was helpful to you and making you all understand what exactly GraphQL is about, what are the benefits, where to use, how it works internally, and what are its components, right? And how the architecture is about from the clients to the server and how it populates it, right? So we have discussed all this in this particular video. I hope this video was helpful, and also don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Uh, Thank you.